For several decades, the global migration map has featured a prominent and well-trodden path. This path led millions of workers from South Asia, Southeast Asia, and Africa toward the glittering skylines toward vast construction sites of the Gulf Cooperation Council countries. United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait became synonymous with opportunity offering jobs that, while often arduous, promised wages far exceeding what was available back home. This flow of labor built modern cities, it fueled economies, and it created a complex web of dependency through remittances, the lifeblood for countless families and communities. The narrative was one of relentless growth and an enduring demand for foreign labor. However, the tectonic plates of global labor migration are shifting. We are now witnessing a significant and unprecedented reversal of this long-standing trend. A growing number of migrant workers are leaving the Gulf exodus. This is not a minor fluctuation, but a structural change driven by economic forces, political forces, technological forces. Simultaneously, another equally important but less publicized migration story is unfolding. A new wave of movement is gaining momentum, not away from Africa, but within it. Workers and families are increasingly migrating to burgeoning coastal hubs across the continent: Accra, Lagos, Mombasa. The Gulf reversal and the rise of intra-African coastal migration are not isolated events. They are deeply interconnected, reflecting a broader reconfiguration of global opportunities and risks. The allure of the Gulf, once a powerful magnet for global labor, is demonstrably weakening. The dream of earning a fortune and returning home a success story is becoming increasingly difficult to realize for a large segment of the migrant population. The primary countries affected by this outflow include the major labor-importing nations: Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Kuwait, Oman, Bahrain. For years, these states relied heavily on foreign workers to build their infrastructure, run their service industries, staff their businesses. Now, a combination of deliberate policy changes and unavoidable economic pressures is actively pushing these same workers out, creating a migration reversal of historic proportions. This exodus is not driven by a single cause, but by a powerful convergence of 5 key factors, each reinforcing the others. First, the escalating cost of living has eroded the financial benefits of working in the region. Second, governments have implemented stricter visa regulations and immigration policies, making it harder for foreigners to enter and stay. Third, rapid automation and technological advancements are eliminating many of the low-skilled and semi-skilled jobs that migrants traditionally filled. Fourth, ambitious and aggressive nationalization policies are reshaping labor markets: Saudization, Emiratization. Finally, the cumulative effect of these pressures has led to lower and less reliable remittances, undermining the very purpose of migrating for many. A construction worker from Nepal who for a decade could support his entire extended family now finds his meager salary consumed by rent and food costs in Dubai. A Filipino nurse in Riyadh, once secure in her job, now faces uncertainty as her hospital is pressured to meet a quota for hiring Saudi nationals. A Pakistani taxi driver in Doha sees his earnings plummet as ride-sharing apps and the future prospect of autonomous vehicles reduce demand for his services. An Indian accountant in Kuwait struggles to renew his family's visa due to new, more restrictive income requirements. These are not isolated anecdotes. They are representative stories of millions caught in the cross-currents of change. The result is a profound disillusionment. The Gulf is no longer perceived as the land of guaranteed opportunity it once was. The social contract, though always implicit and unequal, has been fundamentally altered. Previously, workers were willing to accept difficult working conditions, separation from family, and limited rights in exchange for a reliable and substantial income. Now, with that financial certainty gone, the trade-off no longer makes sense for many. The decision to leave is often a difficult but rational calculation, a choice to abandon a fading dream in search of a more sustainable reality elsewhere, returning home or venturing toward a new, unknown frontier. The most immediate and universally felt pressure pushing workers out of the Gulf is the relentless increase in the cost of living. Rent for a modest shared room, once a manageable expense, now consumes a significantly larger portion of a worker's monthly salary. The price of food, transportation, utilities has followed a similar upward trajectory, leaving little left at the end of the month. A worker earning 2,000 dirhams might have saved half a decade ago. Today, they may be lucky to save a few hundred, if anything at all. The introduction or increase of value-added taxes further burdens low-income earners, often forcing debt to cover daily expenses. As the remittance-to-cost ratio worsens, many conclude the sacrifice is no longer worth the diminished reward, especially when lower costs and dignified lives appear within reach in nearby Asian countries or in Africa's growing cities. Beyond the economic squeeze, a formidable set of policy barriers is being erected, deliberately making the Gulf a less welcoming place for foreign workers. Governments across the region are systematically tightening visa regulations and immigration controls. Obtaining and renewing work permits has become more complex and expensive. Higher minimum salary thresholds for sponsoring family members effectively force many mid-level workers to live separated from their families or leave entirely. These bureaucratic hurdles create a climate of perpetual uncertainty. A migrant's legal status feels constantly fragile. This trend is amplified by aggressive nationalization policies, Saudization, Emiratization, Qatarization, designed to replace foreign workers with local citizens. Strict quotas, reserved professions, and fees on expat-heavy companies narrow opportunities. For expatriates, this creates a glass ceiling that blocks progression and pushes job seekers toward more meritocratic environments. The doors that were once wide open are now closing or becoming much narrower. For the foreign worker, the ground is constantly shifting. Predictability is vanishing, replaced by precariousness. This lack of long-term security is a powerful push factor, compelling many to leave before the door closes completely. The automation disruption and dwindling remittances. The twin forces of automation and falling remittances are delivering the final blows to the traditional Gulf migration model. Construction machinery, retail kiosks, automated ports, and the looming promise of autonomous vehicles hollow out low and semi-skilled jobs. Gulf governments are actively encouraging this transition. For manual, repetitive roles, from assembly lines to security, obsolescence arrives quickly, with few alternatives. Job losses, wage stagnation, and rising costs drive a significant decline in remittances, the central pillar of the migration bargain. Families back home receive less regularly. Local economies dependent on those inflows strain. Pressure builds. Workers feel failure and futility. Loneliness, long hours, and separation become unbearable when the financial reward dwindles. The entire rationale unravels. Automation erases jobs. Remittances erode benefits. Many conclude their time in the Gulf has ended. The Gulf's glittering facade, world record-breaking skyscrapers, luxurious shopping malls, stands in stark contrast to the lived reality of the workers who built it. They are being priced out of the very cities they helped create, forced to seek new shores where their labor can once again translate into tangible savings and a secure future for their loved ones. As the doors to the Gulf become harder to push open, a new and compelling destination is emerging: the coastal hubs of Africa. A significant intracontinental migration wave is building. It's redirecting flows of people, capital, and ambition. A profound shift away from extracontinental migration to Europe and the Middle East. Destinations form a string of dynamic urban centers: Accra, Lagos, Dakar, Abidjan, Nairobi, and Mombasa on the Indian Ocean. These hubs are safer, more stable, more affordable, and boast rising tech sectors, with ports linking them to global trade. From software developers to bankers, traders to laborers, migrants are finding work, markets, and momentum along Africa's coasts. This phenomenon represents African agency and self-reliance. It challenges outmoded narratives of poverty and exodus. For a young, educated person in Burkina Faso, a new option has emerged. Move to Abidjan to build a career, start a business, and feel cultural kinship. The primary drivers distill into a trio: greater stability, enhanced safety, superior affordability. A salary may be lower than in Dubai, but purchasing power can be higher. Housing, food, transport, education often cost a fraction of GCC prices. Affordability enables dignity, savings, and investment, shifting migrants from survival to the possibility of thriving. These cities offer a holistic vision of life: a better, more secure, more sustainable future, a powerful pull for a new generation. The Gulf exodus and the rise of African coastal migration are not parallel phenomena. They are two sides of the same coin in the new global labor market. As opportunities in the Gulf diminish, experienced, skilled, and semi-skilled African workers redirect their ambitions closer to home. They bring capital, mindsets, international standards, and networks, accelerating coastal growth and linking to the global economy. Stories spread via social media and messaging apps. Why endure Gulf difficulties when better, familiar opportunities are a country or two away? We are witnessing a pivotal realignment. Rising costs, restrictive policies, automation, dwindling remittances fracture the Gulf dream, while African hubs ascend with stability, affordability, and opportunity. Lesson: migration flows respond to incentives. Gulf states must build post-oil, post-expatriate models. African hubs must manage rapid urbanization inclusively. Workers must prioritize information, planning, and skills. The new map of opportunity is more intra-regional and balanced. Human mobility endures, its direction in flux, seeking dignity and the greatest opportunity. For decades, that path led to the Gulf. Today, new paths are being forged, many not out of Africa, but through it. Recognizing and understanding this reality is essential to harness migration's potential for the betterment of all. Subscribe for more adventures.